Hello, welcome back. Today we're doing business and social stories. It's also November 29th, which I forgot to say first.
Might as well be an entire episode about OpenAI.
Yeah, if you've been waiting for that. It literally came out last week while we were filming. So
we did cover the firing, but we were all like, what's going on? What? And now we have so many stories, but
we're still like, what's going on?
Not a lot of answers. So we learned that the board lost confidence in him for whatever reason. And
the Reuters headline is OpenAI researchers warned the board of an AI breakthrough ahead of the CEO ouster, sources say.
I think this is a lie.
Well, nobody is admitting that this was the reason, but they had something called Q-Star. Oh, God. Are you guys getting just destroyed with spam calls this week? I'm getting just like 7, 8 a day.
Wow.
Yeah. And they never talk to me because I like talking to them. But I wonder if they've got some kind of voice recognition thing going on. They're just trying to find like old people, old confused people.
You should try to make your voice sound older.
Welcome.
So maybe an algorithmic breakthrough, maybe not, but they haven't cited any kind of reason. And the board members that have commented on it have said, no, it's not any kind of malfeasance. We didn't catch him stealing money or anything like that, because the rumor mill was starting up and they're like, oh crap, we need to get ahead of that. But at the same time that Altman was being fired, I guess, he was talking about, like, in one of the presentations that he was giving before he knew he was being fired, like hours before, he was literally saying things that kind of hinted at a breakthrough, maybe, that he was aware of. But he was also saying that it's clear to me now that this path is not going to lead to general artificial intelligence, and that the AI is not going to come up with something that is truly original by reasoning. And so that's his word choice, like re-listening to that, his word choice is really interesting, I think, if it's related.
So the theory there is that he was making breakthroughs in the lab, but he wasn't telling the board about it. And the board during the presentation were like, wait, what is he talking about? And they tweeted something about like pulling back the veil. Yeah. And it was like, whoa, what is he talking about? And then maybe he admitted it to him then. We're not sure about that. But we do know that as soon as it happened, he was a very popular man. He was getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of offers.
Microsoft hires ex-OpenAI leaders Altman and Brockman to lead a new AI group. So basically, Satya Nadella stepped in and said, listen, we got a home for you if you want a home. And the OpenAI folks said yes. And then like 500 employees, like 500 to 700 immediately were like, yeah, we're on board too. So it was almost really bad.
Yeah, they apparently they really like him as captain for whatever reason. Maybe because he did make some new breakthrough. But everybody was like, really, guys, you really think you're going to get away with this?
OpenAI staff threatened to quit unless the board resigns. More than 730 employees of OpenAI have signed a letter saying that they may quit and join Altman and Microsoft unless the startup's board resigns and reappoints the ousted CEO, which actually has happened. And except for the board part, the reinstation part has happened.
And all the people at Microsoft was like, didn't you just lay off a ton of us? How are you going to do that? Yeah. And TechCrunch was really eager to point out, actually they were eager to point any headline with this man's name in it.
Yeah.
Because it was getting clicks. But they wanted to make sure that he's not going to stop his really dystopian project.
Amidst OpenAI chaos, Sam Altman's involvement in Worldcoin is, quote unquote, not expected to change. That's the eyeball one. The really crazy, like, isn't it the one where they were in the country and it was just like,
your
eyeballs.
That was an African country.
The only way you get your wallet. Let's
not forget, that's the same guy. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, one of those is like Dr. Evil and the other one is Austin Powers.
He also, like, basically blatantly bribed our Congress critters. Like, he's like, let's all go out to a fancy dinner where I talk up AI and you guys should definitely not regulate what we're doing here.
So then it started to get hot and people were sort of like, is he going to go back? You know, there was all this stuff. And of course, Microsoft was quick to get in there and be like, these guys are stopping our progress and our possible profits. So we must take this crisis and remove them.
Nadella says OpenAI governance needs to change no matter where Altman ends up. This is let no good crisis go to waste, because the board was always about furthering AI, not profit. And so this is convenient no matter how the cheese is sliced.
Or if you believe that the board was perhaps worried that AI was going to get out of hand and we were going to lose control of it, then hiding the breakthroughs from them could explain.
Yes.
And it would also explain why Microsoft was like, no, we can't have these people anymore.
There's a whole subplot that like half these article authors are not even clued into. The whole
We're getting into fan fiction levels of speculation.
it's with the whole like Yudkowsky's effective altruists and that kind of stuff, and like that's a whole other tangent. Like you read that and then you look at like it gets crazy fast. Like you get way off the rails on some of that stuff.
I hope whatever fan fiction continues to be generated for this, we keep using Barbie as part of the imagery.
AI Barbie.
Yeah,
It's kind of the
she pops up in a
unofficial.
lot of images.
Well, she's dead inside, and that's what AI is going to be.
Aren't we all?
And so OpenAI's board, once they realized that the whole world was against them, and they were like, "Oh God, we really don't have a product anymore, do we? Without him, what do we have?" The answer was a whole lot of nothing. So they got desperate.
OpenAI's board approached Anthropic CEO about a top job and merger. Unfortunately, this fell through. It's like, because OpenAI needed somebody to run it, so they talked to the Anthropic. But the Twitch CEO was on board, and the Twitch, so they hired the Twitch CEO. But I'm getting ahead of that.
And this week, this is Kyle Wiggers.
Yeah, well, this is old now.
There's
Right.
yeah, it's so
But
quick.
no, we're following the timeline. So at that point, they were all like, "Okay, we're kind of screwed here. What are we going to do? We might as well just bring it back."
OpenAI's board may be coming around to Sam Altman returning, but then it fell through at the last minute.
What a plot twist.
But then
Finally, this was the 22nd. He's back.
Sam Altman to return as OpenAI CEO after his tumultuous ouster. The former Twitch CEO tweeted, "It's like, it was a really hard 72 hours, but it was not. That was a joke."
How about the former Twitch CEO? You think he gets any kind of parachute from
No.
just being booted right back out?
It's just like, "Oh, sorry, man, we're good." It turns out we already had a CEO. Who knew?
Everybody at Thanksgiving just busting his balls.
Oh my gosh. I feel like just vaguely following any of that, I was feeling stressed out. I was like, I can't even imagine like
Yeah. Well, the none of the articles really like, so the algorithmic breakthrough that may have happened is something that they referred to internally as Q-star learning, which I guess is something that would enable, how like AlphaGo, we had AlphaGo play against itself, and then suddenly it got really good, and then it could play Go better than any of the other AI algorithms. Apparently, this is the kind of breakthrough that will lead to being able to do AI training adversarially like that, which promises to dramatically reduce the size of the models. Because right now the models are so huge, we just sort of win with brute force. Like, it looks like they're really intelligent and can figure out stuff because they're just so vast. But human beings don't learn that way. Like, we know what things to keep and what things to throw away. An A-star could lead to a mechanism where you know which things to keep and which things to throw away. So things could learn faster, more efficiently, and run on less hardware.
Or it could have all been PR.
I was thinking all PR, like, oh crap, everything's looking bad. Quick, pretend that we're actually way farther ahead than we really are.
You know what, guys? We oversold, and we're going to actually have to turn the service off because it's been off for the 3.5 users for most of the week. We're going to have to turn it off. That's going to be a big news story. How can we get a story that trumps that? And boy, did they do it.
We had a breakthrough. We're not going to call it artificial general intelligence, but boy, howdy, it's a breakthrough.
But you can't use it yet.
And also, don't look at all this crap that's going on behind the scenes with our CEO and everyone else.
That's the Google model, isn't it? It's like, you just wait. Our AI is really something.
It's really good.
It smells like Alta Vista or Ask Jeeves during the Google bring up.
Oh.
Honestly, there, guys, come on.
Rip Ask Jeeves.
Well, it doesn't seem like artificial general intelligence is a guaranteed thing at all. And we may never get it. But there is one thing that seems to be pretty much guaranteed, and I don't want it.
The IMF says central bank digital currencies can replace cash. This is not a time to turn back. Oh, no.
I think it's exactly the time. I don't think there's ever been a better time to turn back. So they passed the European Union thing. Was EID, something it's called?
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
And-
the European digital, like your citizen ID or whatever.
And that was always sold as like, no, this is for confirmation and protecting people online. This is not necessarily about digital currency. And then as soon as it passed, As soon as it passed, they're like, yeah, digital currency. Let's get started.
We can use that for digital currency. And it's like, wait a minute, guys. It wouldn't have been possible for you to write this up saying that if it just occurred to you after this passed. What's up with that?
Well, YouTube has perhaps not had the success that they expected with their new push to destroy all ad blockers, but they have not given up.
404 Media's headline says, YouTube says that 5-second delay that people notice when you use Firefox and basically non-Chrome browsers is meant to punish ad blockers, not Firefox users.
I haven't noticed this myself.
But it's still going to punish Firefox users. It might not be meant to, but it does.
Somebody noticed that there's basically just a 5-second JavaScript delay.
There's a guitar playing
There's
down
music.
the hall. I don't know that they can hear it.
Now we have some more fallout from the Google Epic showdown in court, and we finally got to hear from Tim Sweeney on the stand.
Epic CEO Tim Sweeney says Google offered, quote unquote, what seemed like a crooked deal to release Fortnite on the Play Store.
Excellent editorial image.
I think that's an actual Fortnite skin, right?
Almost certainly.
So they came to him and they were like, we kind of recognize exactly what Fortnite is, and we'd like a piece of that. So they offered him some various deals, but he saw them all as being completely unacceptable because Google got a cut of everything. They even went so far, it was discovered in the discovery, of going to Tencent and going over his head and thinking about, like, maybe we should just buy that. Which seems
just take it.
Seems a little monopolistic, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's threatening the Apple cart. We must acquire him.
And another thing that we learned from that whole business is that Google wasn't just making deals with Epic or trying to. They were making deals with all the big apps.
A secret Google deal lets Spotify completely bypass Android's App Store fees. What is this? Google said, we know you don't make any money on this. We'll work it out.
They also pointed out that Google fought bitterly to hide that, not get it out in court. Their reasoning being other apps are going to want that.
Yeah.
If we let them know that.
Imagine that.
And you're probably using a lot of digital payments for your holiday shopping. And some people are saying, wait a minute, when I was using cash, I didn't have to pay these extra percentages.
Venmo and Cash App users sue Apple over peer-to-peer payment fees because you normally wouldn't have those, especially if it's like a bank draft.
Because, like, it's just another person.
Yeah.
Just supposed to be part of what your software does. You remember when you sold it to us as that being safe and cheap and easy? Then you added all the fees.
And now it's not cheap anymore.
Remember the last people that were using e-checks or using e-checks because it only cost 20 cents no matter what the amount was?
And we thought we had seen the end of the green versus blue debate, but it turns out that Apple is not going to give up that fight so easily. They may have lost a battle, but the war rages on.
RCS messages will use green bubbles, Apple confirms.
I just can't believe people have to spend mental energy on this. Like there's a whole legal team that's just fighting over the color of the bubbles.
But also the fact that people care so much.
Yeah. A legal team wouldn't have been drafted for this if people didn't care about it. And yet.
Well, something that people are going to care about is coming up next year. And this might point out why the Firefox people were being punished already. Because Firefox might be the only place left that's safe.
Old Manifest V2 Chrome extensions will be disabled in 2024, including ad blocker thingies.
And some would argue that the whole point of this was to destroy ad blockers. Because that's what it'll do.
I am blown away. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and she might be the only person our age who doesn't use an ad blocker.
No, there's tons of people who don't use ad blockers.
She was like, yeah, I can't go on this one site because there's ads everywhere. And I was like, what? You're not, it's 2023 and you're not using an ad blocker? She's like, oh, I thought I was. I was like, well, not if you're seeing ads. Like,
when I set my dad up with an ad blocker, I thought he was just going to be blown away by it, but he really didn't seem to notice at all.
People, I guess, are just so used to it. It was really weird at Thanksgiving seeing ads again, like on the television. I was like,
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I have such a revulsion to it.
It makes me angry.
Well, this one should make you angry if you are a PlayStation customer, because Sony has been exposed for maybe a little price control and maybe dipping a little too hard once they get you in the ecosystem.
Sony fails to stop $7.9 billion lawsuit over PlayStation Store prices.
So it turns out if you buy them online through the store, you pay, Sony gets like an extra percentage of that. Your games could be cheaper, 30%. So
30% is enormous.
Yeah.
but it's also, you know, Apple. Just the way things work now, if you accept the online ecosystem. And we have another big merger, and once again, one country was staying strong and saying no to it, but they have finally buckled.
Broadcom to close VMware merger after securing China approval.
What did they have to give up to China to get that?
A lot of people I don't know that love VMware are kind of bummed right now. Engagement challenge. Do you deal with VMware? Are you excited or bummed about the Broadcom acquisition?
Well, last week we talked about the Nothing phone getting around the whole Apple messaging thing. How do they do it? Well, they used a special piece of software called Sunbird, and it took exactly 1 day for people to start looking under the hood of Sunbird.
Sunbird is shutting down its iMessage app for Android because it is wildly insecure. Yep. Anybody that actually looked at it knew immediately it was garbage, so we probably should have looked at that closer. Whoops.
Well, we talked about it last week where they were literally just running Macs. What is that business model?
Well, they were running Macs, but they weren't. You didn't get your own Mac. There was just zillions and zillions and zillions. Yeah, so it's just like, ooh, that's not secure. That's probably bad.
We also got a big earnings call last week, Nvidia, and everybody was wondering, like, could Nvidia have all the money in the world? Not quite, but they're getting there.
Nvidia's revenue triples as AI chip boom continues. Even despite the drippingly optimistic forecasts, they still beat them. So apparently, you know, those $50,000 H100 GPUs, even with the sanctions, they're just like, license to print money, make hay while the sun shines.
And a lot of people on the call were like, bro, what about China? He was like, yeah, we're going to lose a lot of China sales, but it kind of doesn't matter anymore, right? Because
That's a problem for future us.
we have the most popular stuff in the world.
There are so many people that are convinced that they are going to be the ones that come up with general artificial intelligence that it is a boom. Like it makes the crypto boom look like a gaming GPU boom. It's madness.
And a lot of PC manufacturers are feeling the power of the chip makers. And Apple, for one, is doing everything it can to escape.
Apple plans to equip MacBooks with in-house cellular modems. Apple's been trying to do that for a long time, but this is how they're going to get the bugs worked out. See, Apple tried to work with Intel to displace Qualcomm. We can't forget the Apple Qualcomm lawsuit. There's so many good nuggets in that. And so they're going to, because no one, like people care if their phone is different. Like they notice if their phone is even a little bit different. But in other devices, they're not going to notice. So this is how Apple's going to debug their new modems.
Well, if 2023 was the year of the foldable screen, perhaps 2024 will kick off as the year of the lumpy screen.
Some Pixel 8 Pro displays have bumps under the glass. And Google comments, it says, wait, what now?
I don't know why, but that really like grosses me out, the idea of it having like lumps under the glass.
What if you were
like a zit?
What if they were not only lumps, but sometimes you go over them and they would like give and
move
around.
Ugh.
Apparently
Like
it's
a
because
tapioca pearl.
because the screen is so thin in the manufacturing process, the tolerances are not tight enough. So they can have components that are sitting a little higher or a little lower on the printed circuit board just based on the solder. And that's what's creating the lumps.
They say don't worry about it. Just enjoy them. Just listen
How
to
am I
that.
supposed to enjoy that?
Listen to that Black Eyed Peas song while you're surfing.
My lumps.
And that's a good title lead that we have to think about.
That we'll forget by the time we write this down.
Well, you know what people aren't going to forget? They're not going to forget these constant robot attacks. And this one happened previous to the other one, but we're just now finding out about it.
Tesla workers report explosions, concussions, and grisly robot injuries at a Texas factory. That guy folded into the shape of a cardboard box that we reported on a couple of weeks ago.
I was in Korea.
That's nothing compared to what's going on at the Tesla Cybertruck factory, apparently.
So they point out that he was gored by a robot, which like picked him up and tried to mount him to something. And he was able to, now that they thought this robot was turned off, but he walked past it and it was just like, oh, must kill. And they described how there was a chute that ran down from it. So when it created its whatever little thing it was going to create, they went down a conveyor belt or something. He had to like drag himself off, and he went down the conveyor and left a trail of blood. So they just report all these horrible scenes at the Tesla factory. Now we know that everybody's going against Elon Musk right now, but I find this pretty believable in terms of
well, based on literally everything we've ever heard about Tesla factories, about like, oh, we don't put yellow marks on the floor because Elon doesn't like the color yellow, and it's like, what?
They also pointed out that one of the molding stations where they were dropping molten metal was getting too much water in it for some reason and exploding.
Ooh.
And one guy was like, oh, hey, I know how we could fix this. We would just have to go through X, Y, and Z. And he was reprimanded because that would slow down production.
But it would make it safer. Safety's not important.
Got to get these Cybertrucks out.
Remember, the default programming on all robots is kill all humans. You need the extra programming to override that.
That's the DLC, the subscription.
Yeah, you got to pay extra for that. It's a feature.
And we have a lot of arguments in terms of like, are the Chinese sanctions being effective? Because Huawei certainly seem to try to work around them. Is this a big waste of time? Was it just a big PR scandal? Where are we? Now we have from inside of China some people reporting.
Digitimes Asia's headline is top Chinese equipment supplier. China is 5 generations behind chip manufacturing due to U.S. sanctions. In what can only be described as a story that was added solely so that our idiot Congress critters would hold that up in Congress and say, look, it's working.
We won.
This article is for no one else.
All right, see you guys in the new year. And then they all just leave.
Never mind that the world's most sophisticated networking equipment's made in China. Oh.
Well, it's been a long time since we heard anything about the metaverse. Doesn't seem like it's going well, and this is not a good sign.
Meta's head of augmented reality software is stepping down.
He cited personal reasons. Maybe he decided, I'm done with the rat race. I'm going to go live in the woods. I'm going to live with nature and be happy.
The natureverse.
Yeah.
Or it could be that it's an impossible task that he was challenged with, and he's realizing it's never going to happen. That the metaverse is never going to be a thing.
Personal problems could be.
This one is an interesting USA Today story. It's not any new information, if you think about it. We've covered this, the root cause of this over and over and over. But they do a good job of going and pointing out how a modern teen is basically incapable of escaping it.
Facebook watches teens online as they prep for college. Because, well, this is just more about the whole like cookie login with Facebook thing. So
you want to take the ACT? Guess what? There's a Facebook Pixel. You want to use this common app, which apparently lets you audit colleges? Facebook Pixel. You want to do some sporting events and stuff? Facebook Pixels. It's just on and on. Every site has it, which means they're tracking your progress through life. They know everything about you.
Every school you ever look at.
And the AI copyright wars are raging on. But more and more, I think maybe the judicial branch is understanding more about exactly how this works, and they're siding on the side of the robots.
Sarah Silverman hits stumbling block in AI copyright infringement lawsuit against Meta. We didn't cover this last week. This was like a week or two ago, but mostly her claims are falling apart. It's either the thing that she would like to be illegal is not actually illegal, and she can't actually show any evidence of wrongdoing.
No damages. They also pointed out is like the idea that every time someone touches the prompt, it has to look at your book is insane. So that's probably going to get thrown out. Also, we covered the death of Omegle. And I think this is a parent's problem, but BBC is celebrating the murderer of that fine website.
BBC's headline is Omegle, how I got the dangerous chat site closed down.
Fine might be too generous to Omegle, but...
It was run by one person. One person.
That was interesting. It's not the kind of thing that I ever wanted to take part in, but I know people got some joy out of it. And yeah, there was some badness on there. This guy in particular, he was a child predator for sure. But maybe some parental guidance could have avoided this rather than the destruction of an ongoing business. It's a good debate, which you should have in the comment section. And X is really the whipping child of the mainstream media. They hate it because ever since Elon Musk got a hold of it, they can no longer control it, nor can the government. So what do? You do everything you can to tear it down.
Right-wing personalities use the X to bring anti-Semitic theories to light in the U.S. At least that's according to the Guardian headline. But did you dig into it and it's like, well, this is just idiots saying random crap online.
Which they've always done.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, it's not being wholesale deleted based on the demands of the government, which they cannot tolerate.
I mean, I certainly would like, if somebody starts talking about Jewish space lasers, there's a little note that's going in my book that's like, yeah, they're a Jewish space lasers person. Okay.
I have to work a bit of an idiot into my understanding of this person.
Yeah,
But what if those people told you that even though they claim they stopped, people were still recording all your phone calls and searching them?
That sounds very far-fetched, but then you look at the evidence and it's like, oh, that's actually true.
And there was a time when that was considered a conspiracy theory. Yeah. Remember those days? So Elon Musk has claimed that he's going to fight back. Now, one of the big parts about their lawsuit here, or their attack on him, they didn't sue him, was that they had screenshots of bad ads running next to major advertisers' posts. And so they went to the advertisers and they were like, look, this is what's going to happen if you advertise on Twitter. And they started the big exodus. So Musk says he has the data to prove that they cherry picked that and he's going to sue them.
Next, yeah. So that
trying to say that without YouTube getting it is,
yeah. Elon Musk X sues Watchdog for its damning report. So this is going to be really amazing when this, I want to withhold this until we actually get the discovery from the lawsuit, because if Elon Musk does not have the receipts here, he's going to look really dumb. But it does look like he's got the receipts in at least a couple of edge cases here.
But he has announced this kind of thing before, having nothing.
Yes.
This is not something that it would be new to him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, there may be a mea culpa in a couple of weeks, and the mea culpa is, oh, it turns out the algorithm was doing that, and we had no idea. Thank you for bringing that to light. And it's like,
trending is just garbage on Twitter. Like, it was never great, but at least before, like, if I searched something, it would then find like related tags of like, hey, you like Overwatch, maybe you like Overwatch fan art, so like it would find related items. And now it's just like, do you want to look at this random fringe theory about something? And I'm like, no, I just want to look at funny stuff on Twitter, and there's no funny stuff anymore.
I think the dark reality is we just have to rail against anybody who's trying to censor anything, because there's no such thing as bad information. There's information that's wrong, but even when you get wrong information, if you can identify it as wrong information, that's good. You've learned something. It's been valuable. But that is not what the powers that be want. And here's a great case study.
This Reason article, if you don't do anything else this week, you should go watch the video and read the article from Reason. So this is Backpage. We've covered Backpage when this, I think, started years ago. We covered the court case, and I really didn't think it would go this way. So Backpage was like Craigslist, but the services section of Craigslist. And because of this is why Craigslist no longer even has a service like this kind of section on it anymore, because people would
solicit certain services.
Yes, and
pandering
between consenting adults and blah blah blah. But it turns out that Backpage actually weren't the bad guys. Like, they would actually help law enforcement, and they actually helped shut down some rings and blah blah blah. And the whole like we must protect the children thing came out. But then when it got to court, not only could they not show that any of that kind of stuff was happening, but Backpage was actually able to show how much work they did for law enforcement, to the extent that the judge told the prosecutors, you have to stop saying that. Saying that is defaming the defendants and putting your case in jeopardy. That's how badly the prosecution was misrepresenting the case repeatedly. And of the 86 charges against this guy, none of them stuck except one. And the one was
really should not have.
Yes, like this would have been a prime case for jury nullification, honestly. And you want to talk about a hate nap? This is not good. This is not good for a lot of reasons.
Also, they point out, that's why there's a picture of Kamala Harris here on this video. This was before she became vice president, and she was, what was she in Texas? Was she like an attorney general?
Yes.
Or something. Remember when the whole Black Lives Matter thing happened, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not law enforcement. I don't support them. I'm one of you. I support the people." She did everything she could. Case after case got kicked out, and she just kept bringing more and more charges against this dude.
Yeah.
She just wouldn't let it go. And eventually, one tiny charge maybe is going to stick.
And his business partner,
Unalived.
Yeah,
Himself.
because of these are like old newspaper people. So like the grizzled newspaper people, like, no, I'm going to dig in because I'm an old newspaper person. There's the Overton window of this. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but these people are so old. They remember a time that this would never have flown, but it did in fact fly, just barely. And that is we've lost something.
We've lost everything.
Mm-mm.
And that's the note we're going to end on.
Yeah, I mean, if you the takeaway here is if you attract unwanted attention, it doesn't matter if you've done anything right or not. This is very much a miscarriage of justice.
Yeah. The incubators over at the Justice Natal Center, all empty. It's oops, all miscarriages these days.
Oh.
It's going to be a demographic problem.
That might be the title, Oops, All Miscarriages.
Well, that's a great way to be demonetized.
Yeah, that immediately points out the free speech issue of we would immediately be demonetized for that.
the oops of justice, instead of miscarriage, we just refer to it as oops.
Unbirthed.
Oh.
Well, that's because it's crying is worse.
It's sad.
Anyway, that's it for this week. Depressing note to end on. We'll see you on Friday. Bye.